Everybody, welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. We are coming to you live to talk about everything that's happening in early stage venture and fundraising here as we close out 2020 and we head to 2021. And we're bringing you some of the best and the brightest to your screen, no matter where you are in the world today, having a little fun in these end of the year episodes, but nonetheless, we have brought the best and the brightest who are investing all stages, but particularly around early stage and in many different industries. Lots to talk about, lots to unpack. And before we do, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear, click that big subscribe button down there in the corner to tune in all day, every day on all episodes of VCTV, bringing you the best and the brightest and their on-the-ground perspective of everything happening in technology, industry, and regions around the world. An opportunity for you as well, entrepreneurs. What better way to end the year and kick off the next than joining us here on VCTV. We've got a virtual stage for you to pitch us your company, product, or service to get real-time feedback, build foundational relationships, and get exposure to the entire VCTV live audience that we love and adore so much. Join us, reach out to the team and or myself, and we'd love to find the right spot for you. Last but not least, that team, the LATOKEN team. A big thank you to you and to Maria for making VCTV possible and bringing us to you on all devices, all screens, anywhere you may be around the world. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, early stage venture capital. But before we do, let's make sure we introduce all of our great investors. Nicole, kick us off. Welcome back to the show.
Kyle, what an enthusiastic start to the morning. Thank you. It's great to be here, and I always love joining these amazing panels. So listen well, all entrepreneurs and investors, you're in for a treat. I wear many different hats, literally and figuratively. I wear a hat where I have a marketing and positioning and messaging strategy firm called Outfront Solutions. And with that firm, I've worked with, probably at least 60 different startups on their positioning, messaging, and fundraising efforts. So I've got that perspective to bring to the table. I've also been a CEO myself, and I've raised money at the seed and early stage. So I'm wearing that hat today. And then the third hat that I'm wearing is that I am a founding LP and an advisor to a fund called How Women Invest. And with that fund, we're investing in female-founded companies and female-led companies that are indeed in this early stage.
Wonderful. And thank you, Nicole. And with the hat reference, I'm going to jump out of order here. Jose, I'm coming to you. Man of many hats. Today, you're rocking Paris. It's a pleasure to see you again here on VCTV. A little intro, a little background. Thank you, Nicole. Jose.
Thank you, Kyle. So my name is Jose Graca. I started as a serial entrepreneur and moved on as a business angel. And from there, I became a VC, and eventually I rolled in as an advisor for some venture capital companies, as well for mentoring to startups and some government advising. And eventually I became a lead investor in BizMoney, which is basically running business inclusion and trying to help all those startups that need a helping hand. Thank you, Kyle.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jose. Raghu, welcome back. Pleasure to have you. A little intro, a little background, please.
Thank you, Kyle. This is my third session today. I was on 2 Singapore sessions on green tech and biotech. Yeah. So anyway, so I come to the early stage mostly from the angel investment and maybe family office. I don't go too much towards the VC side as much. There are some funds, institutional ones, but not very large funds. So I'm from Princeton, New Jersey. I have a harvesting enterprises corporation, which does all the way from seed to harvest, helps with strategy, execution, and exit. So look forward to sharing as well as learning on this panel.
Wonderful. Thank you, Raghu. Kevin, welcome back. It's a pleasure. Haven't seen you in about 15 minutes. It's great to have you back here on VCTV for another episode. A little intro, a little background.
Hello again, Kyle. So my original career was working for various banks in the City of London, been running a business and finance consultancy for the last 26 years, working specifically with early stage businesses, and I guess a particular focus on strategy and finance. But we work with them across the range of everything from mentoring them through to being on the advisory board. But a lot of that work is focused around raising finance and getting them investment ready. On top of all of that, I'm a mentor for the UK's largest entrepreneur program, both a general mentor and a fintech mentor, and a mentor and a guest lecturer for Cass Business School in the City of London, and also linked to Prince's Trust, which has helped 86,000 young people start their own business. So very much involved in, as I say, helping get businesses investment ready. And we partner with investors to help them take those early steps in seed and early stage funding.
And as a reference for those that are tuning in here on VCTV, we just spoke recently with Kevin, Jose, and Noble on the business inclusion. So tune in that episode. Lubna, to you.
Hi, I'm Lubna Dajani, and well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've always been a champion of, I guess, technology-based innovation. Well, I should say tech innovation-based disruption, and the impact of technology on society and how we can create experiences with it. Relative to this panel, I've been either an advisor or a coach or a mentor to Springboard Enterprises, New York City Seed Fund, SOSV, and I'm also on the advisory board and the coach and evaluator for Horizon 2020 NGI Trust. Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Wonderful. Adrian.
Thank you very much, Kyle, for the invitation. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here again. My name is Adrian Niculescu. I'm involved in a few projects. CloudCoin Consortium, which CloudCoin is a post-blockchain digital currency, which was started from scratch in early 2017. So it was very, very early stage from an idea. Also, I'm involved with Faster Capital, which is a Dubai-based incubator and accelerators for companies, and most of the companies accelerated or incubated are early stage. And also I'm a mentor in Virgin Startups program, and I believe in the last 6 years I was able to be involved as a mentor in about 40 to 50 projects, most of them technical projects, and I help them usually with sales, marketing, and business development, consulting, and lately this included funding, because without funding, they can't grow. Happy to
Without
be here.
funding and resources, as we spoke just moments ago about here on VCTV. So good point, Adrian, bringing that side of the equation to the table today. Appreciate it. Samit, it's a pleasure to see you. A little intro, a little background.
Thanks, Kyle. Pleasure to see you again and be here on VCTV again. My name is Sanmeet Jolly. I'm based in San Jose, California. Been in Silicon Valley for 20 plus years now, being a part of the high-tech industry. I am an angel investor in 40 technology startups, like technologies like artificial intelligence, solar, robotics, drones, pretty much, high-tech spectrum. And I'm also a founder and patent holder for Grotu app. Grotu is a collection of productivity tools for groups, which goes along very well with chat apps. Chat apps are messaging apps that just push data and images in and out, don't organize stuff. So Grotu is basically a collection of productivity tools for friends and family, private social networking. And we have some tools which we have released, and we're also building more and filing more intellectual property for that. So these are my two hats that I'm wearing.
I love it. Everyone wearing hats today. I should have started the show wearing a hat. Maria, we got to make a note of that for future episodes this year. Well, there we go. All right, everyone's got a hat on. We'll find one here in just a moment. But with that being said, I want to come around early stage investing. Where do we see this going? I mean, right now we're wrapping up 2020. It's been a wild year. We've seen quite a bit of capital actually put in early stage ideas, some at the growth stage and a ton at the big growth stage as well. We've also seen quite a bit of bridge financing, which one could argue is a little bit on the early stage side, depending on the company's growth. But nonetheless, going into 2021, where does early stage venture capital go? What are your predictions looking ahead to the next year around early stage? Nicole, let's start with you.
All right. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the bridge rounds, because for our fund, How Women Invest, we've looked at 150 different deals since we started the fund and started fundraising ourselves, and we've made one investment thus far. But in looking at those deals, a lot of times they ended up needing to be bridge rounds because the entrepreneurs didn't necessarily want to do a priced round until we got out of the craziness and the mess that is COVID-19 and how that impacts businesses. So we have seen a lot of interest in bridge rounds, and these entrepreneurs need that. I mean, look at all the different ways that everyone has needed to reimagine themselves and their companies and their brands and what they mean to the world and how they go to market. It's just, since all of that is turned upside down, a lot of these entrepreneurs really need these funds to be able to make those pivots to really address the markets in ways that they hadn't ever before. So those are some trends I'm seeing in terms of fundraising. We all have to keep in mind, this is a long game. So when you're investing in this stage, this is, you're looking at this as being involved with these entrepreneurs for, you just plan on 8 to 10 to, sometimes 12 years. So these are, and this year has shown a lot. Entrepreneurs have had the opportunity to show up in different ways for their stakeholders. They've had the opportunity to pivot, and it shows you a lot about those entrepreneurs and making bets to invest in them.
It's a good point, Nicole, that I think sometimes is lost a little bit in discussions, is that long time frame, right? Whether it be early stage or a bridge or even late stage, doesn't matter. You're going to be in this for a long time. And whether that be 5, 10, 15 years, it's all dependent on the company, the industry, and many others. But you should be thinking long versus short, especially at the early stage, as Nicole's mentioned. Raghu, I saw you shaking your head. I'm going to come to you next. Same question.
Yeah, I think we call it patient capital. I like people who especially believe in the mission and then don't get in the way too much. Of course, we need to monitor that it's being meeting milestones and going along the right way, and pivot if needed, like a situation like this year, right? What I'm seeing is there are two different things that I see for the coming year. One is this whole vaccine delivery thing, which is going to happen over the next year. And given the scale of that, there are a lot of opportunities there. One of the things is that I think we have to figure out technologies that can help us open up the public participation like before. So it could be, I was talking to the CTO of the NBA. NBA is one of the few sports organizations that was actually able to pull off a kind of a partial season. And they apparently were testing their athletes 3 times a day. Okay, so, and they had this bubble where without quarantining, you couldn't even go in, right? So that kind of thing, everybody can't do it, but what we have now is an opportunity that once somebody is vaccinated, if they can show proof that they were vaccinated, that is like a screening thing. And then if you have already had the COVID, you can do an antibody test and show that. Or you have to get really rapid testing, things that within, near real time you can find out. Otherwise, it kind of misses the point, right? So I think that whole supply chain in terms of the vaccine, going to reach, all the different populations and globally, there's a huge opportunity there. So I think that thing there's going to be funding coming along different parts of that. And the other thing is that some technologies that went on the back burner because of the pandemic, things like, I think AR and VR were very hot, and then they kind of faded a little bit. But now with the remote telemedicine and all kind of coming to roost, that they're going to continue. Some of that experiential stuff will, I think, transfer over. So I think we are in for a revival of certain things, and the pandemic-related stuff will continue as well.
Good point, Raghu. Kevin, to you.
Yeah, I think in the bigger picture, the world is very much moving down that sustainable route and digital route. And again, if you look at 2020, it has very much accelerated specifically the digital route, whether it's Zoom calls as opposed to actual conferences, whether it's digitization of payments, platforms and systems. Almost however you look at it, I think the whole digital economy has been speeded up. So it was happening anyway, but the whole pandemic has sort of accelerated that. And when you look to pick up on something that was said earlier, it's not just about getting money or indeed about getting smart money. It's about being very careful and choosing your investors wisely and making sure you don't end up with dumb money. And by that, I mean, it's a long relationship. So whether it's this 5, 10, 20, whatever it is years, it's a long relationship. And you really, if you're only raising money from a small number of high net worths or angel investors, you really do not want to be getting the wrong investor in. If you've got smart money that can add something as well as money, that's fantastic. But even if it's just money, that's also fine, as long as you're not getting on board somebody that will prove to be a real pain and get in the way of the business going forward. And that's something that so many investors, so many businesses find very difficult to do, to walk away from somebody that's saying, I've got the investment I want to invest. They need to be clever and think, we don't want your money because it's just not going to work. So that's one thing.
And real quick, just to add in there too, someone who may not also understand your business. That's another hook that sometimes gets forgotten. Just because there's a check, so smart money versus bad money, to Kevin's point, just because someone has a check, it doesn't necessarily mean you should take it. And you also want to make sure they can not only understand your business, understand your industry, have areas of support they can provide you, but along with resources as well. Sorry, Kevin, continue.
That's right. I was just going to really finish up by talking about the conversations I've had with crowdfunding platforms over this year. It's been interesting because they've been saying that obviously a number of business sectors haven't been able to raise because they've been in the wrong sector. They might not necessarily have been badly hit, but nevertheless, they're not being seen particularly favorably this year. A number of other businesses obviously have had massive opportunities thrown their way because they have benefited one way or the other. But when you look at the crowdfunding platforms, most of those will tell you that the number of businesses on the platform has reduced because that breadth of business opportunity has reduced. However, the number of investments going across the platform is the same. And so actually, if you're in the right sector, there is still the private individuals, the businesses, everybody else out there is still looking for a home for their money. And so if you're in the right sector and you're on a crowdfunding platform, to continue with my example, you're actually more likely to raise because you're competing against fewer businesses. So the same money is being invested, but it's being split in fewer ways. So there's lots of different possibilities in actual finding your business opportunities here, because but parts of sectors have opened up that just weren't there pre-pandemic, but also, as I say, that the whole fundraising and raising finance has changed. And it is true with VCs also. they've either got funding already in place and they're looking for a home for that money, or they're at the other end where they haven't got funding in place, or their portfolio has been hit, so they're having to try and shore that up. But it's split out who's active and who isn't.
Well, on the former of that, that's part of the reason why we're seeing a massive amount of fundraising happening here in Q4. And for those who may not be paying attention at home, right now in December here, as we're coming to close in 2020, we've seen a slew, potentially, arguably, I would say some of the most activity I've ever seen in December in terms of investments. Already this morning before Kevin, Jose, Noble, and I spoke, I had announcements of 5 fundings just in the blockchain landscape as a whole. As we've been on this episode of VCTV, we're about 20 minutes in. I've already had 3 more announcements. So that type of activity is very rare. And a lot of it goes to what Kevin has mentioned as well. So continuing, thank you, Kevin. Adrian, to you.
With companies at early stage, you know already that I'm obsessed with the sales and income. Some of those projects, they have the possibility to create most of the seed investments by themselves. In the digital era, if you have an email marketing list, if you develop an MVP of your product, it's a concept I've learned from AppSumo. They called it the ghetto version of your product. You are able to get customers to pay you in advance for something which will be delivered in few days, in few weeks, or in few months. So let's say if you need like, I don't know, 20,000, 50,000 or 100,000, with a little bit of creativity, you can create this income by yourself. Of course, if you know some marketing, if you know some sales. Just as an example, I'm creating a funnel right now for a product, an educational product, which can teach you how to learn like 10 languages pretty fast. In the basic of 10 languages in less than 30 days. And this product will be sold via affiliates. It's exclusively digital. I can do everything actually without leaving the house. Besides that, I see, and I liked very much that I saw an accent about that in these calls. Investors are really interested in the pre-seed, not in the, so to be the first to know about the next big thing before anyone else. And I think that this trend will become bigger and bigger. And of course, are those investors saying, okay, I want to be the second. Find the first investor and I will be the second after that. So this was not cliche, but I see a huge accent on, okay, the pre-seed. I want to be the first to find about it, to put some money and to take a risk, but to have most of the reward if that happens, that big thing happens.
It's a good point, Samit.
Yes, so I'm mostly an early stage investor, seed through series. I've done up to Series D, but the real action happens in seed and Series A, I would say, because that's where you invest between, under $20 million valuation. I mean, somewhere between 5 and 20. And if there is good intellectual property and, the sector is good, the team is good, then definitely you can get a nice multiple. And if the company is doing really well and they become big, then of course, then you've hit the jackpot. So, but yeah, it's a patient game. I mean, I'll give you a couple of examples where we entered a bit early and then we are seeing fruits a lot later. But one company was incorporated, started in 2013 in Idea Lab by Bill Gross, a serial entrepreneur. The company's name was Edison Microgrids. And their initial product was a PV tracker, which moves, X and Y axis along the sun to give you higher efficiency of solar, solar output. And he came in 2017 to present to Seed investors, a popular crowdfunding platform. That's when I invested along with many other seed investors. By 2019, they had done a little bit of pivot, and they were now moving mirrors using artificial intelligence on X and Y axis and concentrating sunlight to generate high temperature heat to replace all the fossil fuels which are used for cement and steel and all the other industries, which is about 75% of the problem in the world. It's not electricity generation, it's basically heat that is used for industrial processes. And then they announced that now Bill Gates and a few other billionaires have joined in. So we have Steve Case, we have Kitu Kolori, we have Patrick Soon-Shiong and Bill Gates, and Obama wrote about it. And 2019, it was a totally different game. Now they have won the top 100 innovation from Time Magazine. They got Entrepreneur of the Year, Invention of the Year awards, and covered in 4,000 publications. So this is a company that started 2013 and then 17, and then they pivoted. And in 19, we are hearing that all the good things are happening. And recently they backed $39 million of Department of Energy project. So it's a patient game. Now we are looking at an IPO. It's in the plan. I mean, of course, it's the company which has to decide what's the right time to go. Second example I want to give is virtual reality. In 2016, I invested in a couple of virtual reality startups. And at that time, we did not have Oculus without wires. We had wired headsets, which wire had to connect to a strong PC. And the cost of VR was like a $700-800 PC and then a $300, $400, $500 headset. And it was inconvenient because it was connected with a wire. So 16, but then they started building the games and all. And now suddenly when Oculus said, okay, $299, we give you a very powerful headset without wire, without PC. Oculus is sold out and VR is taking off. So we are into 2020 now, and then now these companies have to grow their sales, and we'll see what kind of exits we have. So it's a long game, and you have to believe in the people you are investing in and the sector you're investing in. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Lubna, shaking your head and smiling. I'm coming to you next on this.
Yeah, well, when you're investing in early stage, it's like investing in ideas, and in what you seed is really how seeds the disruption if you're successful, and the ways you're influencing the future. So and we're in a perfect storm in terms of we've had. We're always looking for where's the ROI, proven ROI. Here we have a perfect storm of connectedness. So all of the whole pipe dream of, I say pipe dream because it's not utopian, the implementation that have been thus far of a hyper-connected society. But we are here, and COVID has accelerated our openness to adoption and to accepting new models and new services. I say a year per month. And if we stay in more lockdowns, then maybe it'll be a year and a half. But with 5G, with AI, with immersive, when you put it all, of course, blockchain and all distributed ledger technologies, when you stack those innovations, et cetera, up and down the stack of technology, and there's sufficient innovation across the borders as you integrate wisely, hopefully, and make it all accessible, then we have this the perfect opportunity to create anything we want in the marketplace. So what kind of startups we seed is very important today, because we are shaping really the future. And it's not just the technologies, but what type of applications and services. But you'll see like a lot in biotech, and because now we have from nanotechnologies, we have all when you again stack the innovations up and down the stack of the sciences, and then our ability to visualize in a multi-dimensional, three-dimensional way the data and the experiences for the scientists, for the brand, for the people. So things in biotech, things in obviously this identity, self-sovereign identity, graph databases, I think, security, lots of really cool, I think, also AI and deep fakes and what have you, and the impact of that, and how do we apply that for what use cases? This is where it's important to think about regeneration in how we're making money on regenerative projects rather than just shareholder. But you know that I'm not going to take you down that pitch again because you know my pitch.
I love it. But this actually brings up a great point: is where are the areas of opportunity? What's going to be the exciting industries going into next year? And Lubna, you've already teased us a little bit with them, but Raghu, I'm coming to you.
Energy is quite important. Hopefully, you'll see a lot more in that. But I'll leave it to. I see. Hello.
Hey, Tolga, Raghu, thank you, Lubna. Raghu, I'm going to come to you next on this. Where are the areas of opportunity you're seeing as big hits for 2021?
I think cybersecurity, logistics and supply chain, especially, with the blockchain aspect, because this vaccine delivery part. I think things for, cleaning something like, for instance, personal antiviral type of things, like cleaning also HVAC, cars and things like that. Anything that helps with making public engagement better. I think those are areas where I see growth happening.
And thank you, Raghu. Tolga.
I'm going to promote my own industry. I think the EV charging, electric vehicles are really the hottest, industry market right now. And I think the growth potential is almost like limitless. I am extremely excited to be a part of the new electric vehicle community, and also, be a part of this movement, because this, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, I think this is the biggest shift in our behavior in terms of how we are consuming energy, and sustainability is I think the word of the 21st century. Is extremely important, not only for economical or financial reasons, but also to maintain stability on Earth. I think it's extremely important. To me, the hottest industry to be in, I think right now, is in the electric vehicles, EV charging, and the industries around these sectors. This is what I'm thinking.
Which is something we've talked about many times here on VCTV, but also you've been a very big promoter of. But Jose, to you.
So everybody knows me for being a practical person. I like to disrupt a few things. So obviously, every investor has its investment criteria. And if we talk about early stage, which is not the case in seed, then there is a huge of alternatives available on the market. Because these companies, they already have revenue generation, and that makes it a lot easier to be able to approach a lot of investors. But I would like to point out the following. If you look at the amount of billionaires in the world, which is more or less like 2,200 people today, which is much more than it was 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, they account for 0.004% of everybody on this globe, right? If you look at millionaires, then we are talking about, I just checked the statistics lately, 0.9% of global population. So it's easy to understand that you, in whichever stage you are, doesn't matter, right? Pre-seed, seed, venture capital, or later stage, you need to understand these numbers. And these numbers means that, in essence, if you would go out normally and you need to approach 100 people to hit just 1 millionaire, right? That would, let's say, have the capacity to invest into your business. Now, approaching 100 people, right, is one thing. Approaching the investment professionals, it's much less than we are talking. So The issue is, how are you going to approach them, and do you understand their mindset? And understanding their mindset is, and I'm finishing here, is that before you approach anybody, understand what their investment criteria is, because otherwise you're just spending your time and money, because fundraising costs money, right?
Yes, it
And
does.
you will not get there. Now, just give me 1 second. The new cash is called equity. People today, they are willing to work for equity. So my question is, why are you going out to raise funds if there are people who are willing to work for equity? Paying them with cash or paying them with equity, which is the new cash, is the same issue.
Thank you, Jose. Samit, to you, areas of opportunity, industries you see exciting going into 2021.
Smartphones are becoming powerful every day. People are spending more time on smartphones. 5G is here. So definitely, social networking tools, productivity tools, software, extension of SaaS software to mobile phones. Those opportunities are not going to go away. They will stay. Video gaming, and so I'm invested in artificial intelligence companies, and I think AI as SaaS product as well as AI as hardware accelerator is both very interesting. To make capabilities of hardware, like we talked about security robots, which are self-driving and providing security services, and then artificial intelligence creating heat using sunlight, replacing fossil fuels, computer vision driving us self-driving cars. So I think it's software. Software is eating the world. It has been eating the world, and it's just getting more and more powerful. It's in our hands. It's everywhere. So
that it is. It's everywhere, even controlling our homes in some cases, for the good or the bad, as we saw yesterday with Google outages and what that meant for some people's smart homes. So we'll come back on that in a minute. Thank you, Samit. Adrian, areas of opportunity in 2020.
I'm looking at a few things. One of the things I'm looking at is what comes after the internet. And there are technologies, smart bracelets, video telephony, which are not using the internet, as we know. Very, very interesting. Also, I'm looking at the entertainment industry, because the way the artists are paid will change. I'm looking at the tokenization of real estate assets, and of course, to the disruption of the financial industry. By the way, today I ordered my physical Binance card. I can't wait to to receive it. So pretty exciting stuff, and the biggest opportunity, of course, is to unlearn what doesn't work, what becomes obsolete, and to learn new things.
Absolutely. The same thing every year, all year, but a good reminder as we head into a very exciting year after a wild and crazy year of 2020. Thank you, Adrian. Kevin, I saw you shaking your head. I'm coming to you next on this.
Yeah, so I agree with supply chains. I mean, when you look at many of the problems that started out with, China starting the pandemic, and I don't mean, let's not be political and blame them, but I'm saying it started there. So what happened there was, in this country, you had major car manufacturers literally sending people out and buying small components and coming back with them in suitcases. The whole supply chain of just in time and supply chains coming from all over the world is going to be something I think that companies everywhere are going to be looking at and trying to secure those. So that's one aspect. And then you've got, I think, everything sustainable, as I've said a couple of times this afternoon, my afternoon, your morning. And that again links into that supply chain. When you look at how one part for one vehicle goes around the world multiple times, being manufactured a bit here, there, and come back to where it started, etc. None of that's good for carbon footprint and such things. And then staying with the car sector, I'm going to be slightly maybe devil's advocate here and say maybe electric cars are already, are they beginning to maybe see the end of their road, in that the hydrogen fuel cell seems to have massive potential. And I personally have invested in some hydrogen fuel cell technology companies, and they are going ballistic, you know, in terms of the progress that they're making and the value of the business, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a sector that you're going to see, and all of that's sustainable and it's vehicles, so they're all wrapped up in one another, but new technology that I think is potentially going to transform things. And then lastly, as a bigger picture area, I think the whole area, again, looking at pandemic and what it's made people think, is mental health has totally jumped to the fore in everybody, how big companies look at it, how individuals look at it, and everything. So anything that can help with mental health, and also fitness, whether that's walkings, running, cycling, online yoga or gyms or whatever it is in your home, all of that sort of sector. And that again fits in with the whole health tech sector. So whether it's wearables or whatever it happens to be, but that whole virtual doctor space and all of that, I think, is just going to explode as a result of where we've been in 2020.
Absolutely. And thank you, Kevin. Nicole, close us out. Where do you see areas of opportunity for 2021?
All right, 2021, bring it on. We're all ready for it. Well, you know that I wear a marketing hat. I've been a career CMO and marketing and business development executive. And so I am really excited about where conversational AI is going. So by that, I mean chatbots, and bringing chat into all of our different messaging apps and places where we may roam. It's a lot of companies are leaving their customers behind, and or they're not engaging them in a way that they really could be. So even my firm, Outfront Solutions, we're starting to, we have a technology partnership with a chatbot company, and we're just helping companies design their conversations with their customers. And this isn't just with, say, banking customer, which is where we've done the most work, banking or retail or e-commerce, things like that. It's those B2B conversations that can also be augmented by conversational AI. So even if it's maybe a manufacturing company that is leveraging conversational AI and chatbots for their suppliers, maybe it's an internal intranet and it's hard to navigate. And so conversational AI can help an employee navigate their internal information structure. So loving conversational AI. Entertainment's being completely disrupted, you know, from this year, and that's not going back. It's not, we're going to continue to have new experiences of entertainment online. I listened last week to the New York Times Entertainment Conference, and it was pointing out trends. And of course, you know, they talked about TikTok and the different people following and whatnot. That's just one of those newer channels and pipelines where people are getting discovered. So, you know, and that's just one. There are new concert experiences where you can have more interactions with entertainers like you've never had before, maybe in a chat or an Ask Me Anything. So those are just two. We invested in a healthcare company, and of course, healthcare being so disrupted, we invested in a company called Gray Matter Analytics that is doing advanced analytics for hospitals and hospital groups to just really leverage their information and bring down costs. So those are my three favorites.
I love it. We just saw some acquisitions in the entertainment space around live video. We've seen the release of more video, call it shared video experiences, right? When it comes to shopping or when it comes to video watching as well. So lots of opportunity there, to Nicole's point. All right, everyone, we are at time. So we don't have time for closing thoughts, but we do need to get shout outs of where you can be found online. So with that, Nicole, close us out. Where can you be found online to continue the conversation?
You can find me on Outfront Solutions, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And that's where you'll see that I wear all my different hats, and I'm always really love to be in community, not only with investors, but with you entrepreneurs. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. And have
Wonderful.
a wonderful rest of the year.
Thank you, Nicole. Kevin.
Yep, I'm also on LinkedIn, so Kevin R. Smith, MSc, to try and differentiate myself from all the other Smiths on the platform, and also at Boom and Partners as the company.
Wonderful. Jose.
You can find me on LinkedIn under Jose Graca or under BizMoney, and I'm an open network. And I want to thank today, because I get messages every week from people that watch the VCTV shows, very nice messages. And I want to thank all the people that send me those messages, basically thanking me that I always hit the nail when I'm talking about what their needs are. So thank you very much for all these messages that I received every week.
Thank you, Jose. And thank you to our audience also for following up and adding context. Samit.
Yeah, best place to find me is on LinkedIn, Samit Jolly. And you can also check out grotto.com and leave your contact over there if that's the way you want me to contact you. And happy holidays, everybody. Enjoy whatever is left of 2020, a challenging year.
An interesting year at that. Adrian, where can everyone find you?
Thank you very much again for having me here. LinkedIn is my main communication hub, and I respond all the time to messages, not immediately. Happy to help with anything I can.
Thank you, Raghu.
Thank you, Kyle. You can find me on LinkedIn, Raghu S. Rao or Splitbyte. And I can be found a lot on VCTV nowadays.
Thank you. And Tolga. Tolga, we're going to come back to you last. Can't hear you at the moment. Lubna, to you.
Well, thanks again, everyone. Lubna Dajani, LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere else. It's the same, just Lubna Dajani.
Tolga.
Thank you again for having me, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to everybody. I am really excited about the next year, and you can find me on LinkedIn, Tolga Onuk, and my website is tolgaonuk.com. And about our company Loop, our new website is coming. If you want to learn anything about EV charging or electric vehicles, please contact me, and I can give you my thoughts, opinions. Thank you again.
Absolutely. And thank you all so much for tuning in and joining us today on VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out to all of our investors today, and also reach out to us if you're interested in being on a show like today, here to join us on VCTV to share your thoughts and insights around different technologies, industries, and regions around the world. A big thank you to the LATOKEN team and Maria for making VCTV possible every single day on all devices and all screens around the world. Please do reach out. Make sure you add context. Everyone would love to hear from you and continue the conversation. With that, we'll see you back here tomorrow for more VCTV. Take care, everybody.